Take your seats so we can get started. I think everybody who needs to be here is here. Welcome to the ReelAbilities Film Festival, Day 3. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a big day ahead of us. It's already started with some short films. We have, after this event, we have a puppet show, Adi and Uno, and then we have more short films and 2 feature films tonight, and that's just here at the JCC. As you know, we're in over 30 locations throughout the New York area, so please help spread the word and get people to come out to these amazing films because they are only here this week. I'm very excited about this panel now, and we're calling this our industry panel, and it's disability on the small screen, and we wanted to investigate a little bit about what these new opportunities of TV, which is very much changing these days, what opportunities television has opened up for greater inclusion of people with disabilities, what have some of those reactions been, and we have an amazing panel here that includes a nice diverse, right here. Well, first of all, I guess I should mention that our moderator today is Mr. Danny Woodburn, who beyond being a great supporter of the festival is a fabulous actor. Many of you recognize him from Seinfeld, though I was stopped with him once because he was Shredder in the Ninja Turtles movies, the Splinter, the good guy, not the bad guy. I did not see that movie, believe it or not. The lab rat, okay. Interesting. We have Jonathan Murray, who is a legendary producer. I'm going to give him credit for really inventing the format. He started with The Real World and really the format of reality TV, and this craze that has been going on for decades now is his responsibility, and he's also responsible for Born This Way, and we're going to be watching a clip from that. We also have here from Don't Shoot the Messenger, which is a wonderful web series, Maleni Chaitoo. And we'll be showing an episode of that, and she'll be in conversation. And then we also have here Eric Graise, who is newest to our ReelAbilities family, and is in a fantastic show that's on YouTube, Red, and we'll tell you more about that, and we're going to be showing a clip that will tell you a lot about Eric's work and who he is, and then we're going to talk to each one individually, and then bring all 3 together to take your questions and to discuss further. I want to give some big thank yous. Specifically, we have a lot of partners on this festival, but specifically for this event, there are 3 partners that I want to mention. First of all, Respectability, who helped put this all together and brought John Murray to us. So a big thank you to Respectability and everything they do. Please check them out. Danny is also involved with SAG-AFTRA, the Actors Guild, and they are doing amazing work also for inclusion, and I'm sure Danny can give some shout-outs to all of the work that's being done there.
Oh, yes. Oh, there she is.
And you get a microphone, too.
Hi, everyone.
Last one I'll mention, which Danny has also done some work for, is the Ruderman Foundation, who's also been taking a lead in more inclusion on television. They actually had a challenge, 2 producers and 2 networks, to create more inclusion in this specific field. So I'm really proud to highlight those sponsors. Danny, I'm going to hand things over to you.
You're not leaving, are you?
I'm not leaving. I'll be here to make sure you stay in line.
I mean, you're not leaving from that spot. Stay right there.
Okay. And we're going to start with Born This Way, but let me know if what you were going to start with, if you had any introductory remarks.
No, I just was going to say, there's a lot of aspects to our presence on screen. And it's not just necessarily obstacles that exist within the industry, but like prior to getting into the industry, I've talked about it in the paper that I wrote with the Ruderman Family Foundation. Besides the idea of the actor as waiter is a much more difficult process for people with disability because, as many of you know, we have a 67% unemployment rate. And then when we look at areas of education for people with disabilities, I had last year spoken about the training ground is the theater, and although there is access, a greater amount of access for people to view it, to people to come and be audience members as people with in people with disability community, there is really very limited access for a performer to train on the stage in the theater, comparatively. So the idea that talent cannot be found has its origin. So the argument comes very often from the producers and high-ups and decision makers that, well, we just can't find the talent, or the people that we do hire just don't have the chops, or whatever. We have to recognize where that path gets halted, and it goes back well before a casting director starts looking for people with disability to perform in their show. So with that, why don't we take a look at the first clip from Born This Way?
Who here knows Born This Way?
Oh, yeah, let me say what that, we'll let the clip explain it, and then we'll have,
So we're going to be watching 10 minutes from
and
an
then
episode.
John will come up and he'll explain it even better.
We'll roll the clip. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right. That was terrific. Let's welcome our first guest. What?
They're waiting for the screen for the...
Okay. Let's not welcome our first guest until we have the screen. Brought to you by Westinghouse. Or the W Hotel. I don't know which. Let's welcome our first guest. It's right there. Is that saying it before I'm actually thinking it? I'm just... Wow. Okay. Maleni. 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 Oh, for God's sake.
Craig knows how to say.
Thank you.
Maleni Chaitoo.
That's it, right there. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, we've worked together a number of times with PWD committee issues, and what
Right, yeah.
pushed you? What pushed you to be involved in this, to develop this?
Well, I can speak to that in several ways. For so many years since I've graduated college, I studied business in school, and I was, in the corporate world, or at least I thought I wanted to be there. And I faced so many obstacles. I couldn't get jobs. Like you were talking about before, there's 60% underemployment or unemployment rate for people with disabilities. And I was really a victim of that. I was educated, but couldn't get work. And so these experiences started to build up as stories in my mind. And I spoke with other people, and they had similar stories. Well, I decided at some point to pursue acting. I mean, I'd always enjoyed it when I was younger, but I thought, you can't make a living doing that. And I started meeting talented deaf performers who were brilliant, writers, directors, performers, and I thought their work should be seen. So Craig and I met, and we started this show together, and the character of Jacob was born. And we thought, you know what, we should take some courses. And we went to YouTube Space in New York City to use their facility and figured out, how to use their platform to create this idea, this web series. And we pitched the idea to a group of people there at YouTube Space, and they loved it. And, I'm an avid TV watcher. I've always loved watching TV, but traditionally, you see deaf people in roles of victims on TV. And I wanted to see deaf people who looked like normal people, people with interesting, funny stories. So Craig and I came up with a bunch of ideas, which became the original content for this show. And So we developed the project from there. We worked closely with a group of deaf writers. They contributed a lot of their experiences to the story. And we just hunkered down and did it. I think, it was time. We needed to tell these stories, not just deaf people and sign language interpreters, but I think everybody can identify with the journey that he goes through and laugh. It's a comedy, so everybody can find a way in.
So let me get this straight. You had a business degree and thought acting is going to be so much easier.
Oh, Danny. I mean, I had this business background, so
Okay.
that's where I was coming from. But I've always had a passion for acting and entertaining. I was always entertaining my friends and family, so I thought, how can I marry these two skills? I've got this business background, I've got this performance background. So I learned a lot through projects I'd been on, and I thought, we have these stories that we can tell, and here it is in my work now.
Tell me about the pitch. How did that go? How did that roll out? Had you been involved in the YouTube space for a period of time and got to meet people, or did you just say, we're there a couple of days on our own and then said, let's look for the people in charge and let's see if we can pitch our show to them? Because, no, go ahead.
I should clarify. So let me back up a little bit. So YouTube Space is where we were taking these workshops on creating content. And all these participants were instructed to develop a pitch, and we were supposed to give it to one another, come up with an idea for something that you'd like to see on YouTube, something you wanted to create. And we came up with this idea for a web series we wanted to develop, and everybody there really liked it. So, like I said, my background is in business and marketing, and I obviously wanted to appeal to what the audience wanted, and it seems like we had something that they liked. They were buying what we were selling, and so the ideas really started to roll out from there.
And how long have you been doing it? How many episodes in are you?
Right now, there are a total of 7 episodes. That's what we're calling our season 1, available on YouTube. We wrote the scripts and decided that we would do, for a pilot, and decided to do an Indiegogo campaign. But we produced that pilot to raise funds. We had a goal of a $20,000 budget. Unfortunately, we came up short. We got about $10,000, but we were able to produce 4 episodes and release those. And after that, I received a grant from New York Women in Film and Television that was specifically earmarked for filmmakers and artists with disabilities, and we used that to complete the remaining 3 episodes, which make 7 episodes in season 1. And I'm very proud of our work. I think I'm very proud of our collaboration. We worked very hard for what seems like a little bit of product, but it was a labor of love, and we finished it about 2 years ago, and people still come up to me and ask when we're going to see more of Jacob and see a season 2, and so it's a conversation to be continued.
So that's 10,000 for the first 4 episodes, and you followed up with 3
Right.
more. Was the cost for the next 3 about the same, or did you with the grant, were you able to put more into the production value, or more into your pocket?
Oh, no. As a producer, I haven't made a cent. We've been able to employ artists, but we took a look at our budget, and obviously, I'm a business person trying to make decisions and stretch those dollars, and we worked with another hearing woman named Jessica Wasserman, who's a fellow producer, and we strategized together, reached out to people who would donate space to us where we could shoot, like a cafe in one episode, an art gallery in another. So we were able to use a bar as well. So we were able to get locations
Donate.
to stretch our dollars as far as we could.
So the locations were donated.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's a big part of budget.
Thank you, New York City. What a great place to live. And thank you to those generous people who we were able to hook up with and make that happen.
So we talked about this earlier with regard to protected groups, minority status, and the fact that you are a woman and a woman of color.
Yes.
And we talked about how that sort of plays more into your favor than the aspect of your disability. Right.
Yeah.
So when you applied for that grant from Women in Film and Television in New York, did you apply? Was your in based on the fact that you were a woman more than anything else? Was your ability to get that grant based on the fact that you're a woman more than a person of color or a person with disability?
Well, in that organization, we're all seen as women first, and I don't think I'm recognized more as a person of color than a person with a disability, but that organization, New York Women in Film and Television, helped us to make this project live on. It's really a fantastic organization. It was a great opportunity. And I think they really see me as a woman. We're all women in that organization. So my status as a person with a disability or a person of color is not as emphasized.
So I just feel it's important to expand on that as you did, because a lot of times there are policies and projects in place that do benefit women more or do benefit people of color more and are exclusive of people with disabilities. So it's interesting to me, this journey that you're on, and how it came about. And I think people might want to know a little bit about the process of getting a grant, what you had to do to find the grant, to get the grant, because I think people would be interested to know you're creating your own content. And that's what we've talked about many times here at the festival, is you want to be creators of your own content so you can get yourself out there, put yourself out there as you have. So can you expand a little bit more on the process of getting that grant and finding it for yourself?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I can speak to that. So let me try to refresh my memory and give you the short version. I had met a man named Andrew, I can't remember his last name, a man in a wheelchair with CP who introduced us to the executive director of New York Women in Film and Television. He was the one who told us that they had grants for people with disabilities. So I thought, it couldn't hurt to reach out. We had a meeting, and we talked about our idea. They asked me if I was interested in joining the organization, and it sounded like a fantastic opportunity. So I became a member. They accepted me. I applied, and they accepted me. And when it came time for the grant, I applied for it. It was a rather thick application. You had to detail what your budget was going to be, a synopsis of the content. There were a lot of criteria. And fortunately, my team and I were able to work on that, draft a budget, list what the goals were of our project. We submitted it, and a few months later, we found out that we were selected, which was so thrilling. And we hit the ground running from there and created those next 3 episodes. And we also, I should say, we received a grant for audio description. Now, this is something I had no idea about, but people who are blind or low vision rely on this to access content. And I was so thrilled to have the opportunity to make that possible. Now, Craig was heavily involved in that part of the process. As a deaf person, I didn't have much to do with the audio description. You'll forgive me. But it was a wonderful opportunity, and we were so lucky to have that so that we can share our content with a wider audience and make sure that everyone is fully included. Everybody can enjoy our show.
Absolutely, and congratulations on your show. I think it's phenomenal that you guys have put it together, and I wish you much more success with it. But I just wanted to ask really quickly before I chase you out of here, the grant that you applied for at the Women in Film and Television New York was disability focused, you said?
Yes,
okay.
That's correct.
That's good to know. All right, so let's give a round of applause for Maleni.
Thank you all so much.
And for Craig, and let's move on to, we're ready for Born
We
This
have
Way.
Born This Way.
Yay!
A&E
All right.
provided Born This Way with us with fabulous captions, and we wouldn't want to show it without them. Those are up and running now, so please enjoy Born This Way.
Terrific. Welcome, please, John Murray, executive producer of Born This Way. John, we've met before, at events like this. and I'm well aware that your presence here, like it or not, makes you an advocate. My question is, though, I'm curious what you have sort of a long history, certainly with reality television dating back to the early '90s when I think technically it kind of began. You're half of Bunham and Murray, very one of the most prominent reality TV producers in the industry. What prompted the idea to develop this project?
Well, if you go back to that first project that we're known for, The Real World, the idea was to put 7 diverse people together. And some of those people were from communities that weren't often featured on television. So I think from the beginning of our company, we've had a mission to shed light on people whose stories often don't get told. So Born This Way is very much in that tradition. As a producer, you're always looking for new worlds and new characters. And there was a story about young adults with Down syndrome. They were sort of the first generation of Down syndrome, of people with Down syndrome who have been raised to be independent. And now that they're in their mid-20s and early 30s, they want to take those final steps towards independence, and their parents are scared to death about them taking those final steps. So there was a perfect dramatic story there and a lot of humor there. And so we approached A&E about making a show about that, and we did a pilot. Probably didn't do it quite the right way the first time, and then it sat on the shelf for about 4 years. And then I got the most amazing call from A&E saying, we've done a lot of other shows in the last 4 years. Most of them didn't get past pilot or 6 weeks on the air, and we all agreed that there was something very special about that show that you gave us 4 years ago. How would you make that show today? And so then I went back and thought about it, and rather than the original version that was a little more contrived, a little more like Real World, having the young adults live together, we decided to take a more documentary approach and focus in on that relationship between these young adults and their parents.
Well, I'm glad you did it that way, because I think when folks are watching this, people are going to wonder, how much of this people in the industry are going to wonder how much of this is controlled situations versus how much of it is just, you're a fly on the wall with the camera. That pitch, it's interesting to me that took as long as it did, considering your track record and where you're coming from. Did you find that unusual at all, or was that just par for the course for the kind of things that you put together?
Every time I walk in to pitch a show, I'm like, a 25-year-old kid again, because it doesn't matter what I've done before, it's all about that project. It keeps you very humble.
Yeah, what have you done for me lately? Exactly. Yeah, I'm well aware of that. Do you yourself have any connection to somebody with Down syndrome or disability?
I had a great aunt who had Down syndrome who was confined to an institution. It was a long time ago. And I never met her, but I heard about her. But I can't really say that was necessarily the thing that brought me to this project.
I find that part of it interesting, because so often people that are involved in producing these kinds of things have a deeper connection than you. So I find that aspect very interesting. What kind of obstacles did you face other than that first 4 years? Like, what kind of obstacles do you face in the production of a show, like a day-to-day production of the show?
Well, we knew there were some obstacles right from the beginning, because whenever you go into a new community, particularly a community that's been marginalized, as someone who's not part of that community, I have to educate myself first, and I have to educate the people I'm working with, because as we approach people in that community, they're often going to be very suspicious of us and suspicious of our intentions. So we found a lot of times we were saying, apologizing for using a wrong word, even though we had attempted to educate ourselves. And we would constantly say, you have to understand our intentions are good. We may screw up along the way. Please tell us when we screw up. And let's just have an open relationship as we try to move forward on this project. Luckily we had done some other things. We had done a documentary film, Autism the Musical, which had been well received and got an Emmy. So we have a little credibility with folks. So it was challenging. And then particularly with this population, we also had to make sure that that they understood the contract. So we actually paid for them to hire their own lawyers to represent them. And so we had to navigate a number of
Can you help me
things.
out with that, by the way? I just...
And then it was that tricky thing of we're not just casting the 7 young adults, we're also in a way casting their families and finding families who are willing to let us into their lives and share all of this it's asking a lot.
How much time producing the show, how much time is involved for the families out of a year?
Yeah, well, this show's a little different from a lot of the shows we do because we actually shoot this over a long period of time. We shoot for about 20 weeks for a season.
Yeah.
And we have very small crew. And so we might only shoot 2 or 3 things a day. And so that's good in the sense that we're not in those families' lives every day. It's not like the real world where it's 24/7.
Right.
And we sit down with the families at the beginning of the season and with the young adults and talk about, well, what's going on in your lives this year during this period? What can we focus on? And we try to figure out where we are best to put our cameras to sort of capture what's going on in their lives. In season 4, which premieres probably in the spring, we're one of the big stories is Christina and Angel are moving towards the big wedding day.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you. I'm getting the light from Isaac. Thank you for joining us today, John. Congratulations on the success of the show.
All right.
The third show we're going to be presenting here right now, we're excited to have here Eric Graise, who is in the show, the YouTube Red show. YouTube Red is YouTube's kind of, YouTube now has also entered the market of paid subscription TV, if that's the way to describe it. And they have a few shows that they've produced, and he's in Step Up High Water. And we're going to take a quick look at, I don't know what to call this reel, Eric, but I'm going to call it your sizzle reel. But this, a clip that will tell you a little bit about Eric, who I think we're going to be hearing a lot from in the next few years. Hopefully be coming back to ReelAbilities at different times. And it's a short clip that will give you a little bit about his background, and then Danny will tell you a little bit more about the show on YouTube. Thank you. Please welcome Eric Graise.
Hey, y'all. I'm from the South. I don't know if you noticed.
Okay, we got the W. Good. In the meantime, you and I can do a dance, right? Together right now, yeah?
Let's do it.
Here we go. Welcome, Eric. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
How does it feel? How does it feel working on this professionally produced show?
It is the worst thing that's ever happened in No, it's amazing. It feels really good. It sort of just kind of jumped out of nowhere. I had just gotten out of college and spent a year-long internship in a theater company. And then I spent a year with a professional dance company. And right before my contract ended, and we were heading to Spain to do, we had got commissioned by the U.S. Embassy to perform around Spain and to speak at different places and stuff. And a week before we went out, I heard about this audition. They contacted the dance company looking for this character named King. Was biracial and a dancer and, an amputee. And I was just like, okay, yeah, all right.
Start clicking the boxes.
Yeah, you're
right?
just, one after the other. Yeah, I can feel that. And yeah, they I had to quickly put together a video, sent it out, and while I was in Spain, I found out that I got the show, and 2 days after I got back from Spain, I was in front of a camera. Yeah.
So you feel like it's sort of a whirlwind.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're in Spain. You're doing this submission video. I don't know. Did you send some of your dance work on the submission video, or was it just you talking about your life experience? What did you send in?
Well, I wanted to. The requirements was that I just send in a freestyle hip hop dance video, which I've never done hip hop dance before in my life. That was
What is your area of dance?
mostly contemporary, modern. But actually, I was even new to dance, let alone television or I guess a mini series for YouTube, and. Yeah, so I quickly put together this video, hoping that it looked somewhat decent, you know. And it's tough because there's not tons of resources for me, you know. Even being in an integrated dance company, they never had a dancer with my body type,
Right.
you know. So even in that, you know, was discovery and learning, and trying to figure out ways to what they call it is transposing able-bodied dancers' bodies and their dances to fit my body. So with sending in this mission for this hip hop video, I didn't have an able-bodied dancer there to, you know, do anything for me. I didn't have a teacher or an instructor. It was just purely me getting in the room, turning on one of my favorite songs and moving, and I ended up.
Why
with
don't we
something
see
pretty
that
decent.
on this clip? Why don't we see them?
Well, unfortunately, I was super late in getting a video in, and we
What?
couldn't get the CC in. So.
All right. Well, Isaac, you're gonna have to get him to do a dance on one of the next ReelAbilities Film Festivals, right? Run a dance class, maybe. We talked a little bit last night at the event about perhaps some of your fears in producing the show, like where is your character headed? You know, you talked about not wanting to be like this sort of magical disabled person who is rewarded now with some physical ability that you didn't have
Absolutely.
before. You
Yeah.
so we're like, oh, he can walk. Oh my God, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of a thing. So and talk a little bit about what your concerns are and how you might handle them with producers
Well, I had a lot of them.
without, you know,
Yeah.
destroying your career. But go ahead.
I had a lot of them. It was really scary, you know. And other than just being disabled, you know, I'm a black, gay, Native American, vegetarian, double leg amputee.
So you are
ADHD.
checking off some
Oh yeah,
boxes. Yeah.
so many boxes. But you know, I was afraid of playing a straight character. You know, being a gay man. I was afraid of not being black enough for a black television show.
How many
you know?
times have I heard that?
And you know, and a part of I use a different mobility device than King does. You know, he's a double leg amputee, but he uses a chair. I use prosthetics. You know, so there's so much character work that goes into that. You know, and research and just me talking with people and figuring out, okay, what are some of the things that you're not interested in seeing? And I think at the end of the day, it's pretty much people were just uninterested in seeing a character that hated himself. You know, that somehow was, oh, you know, because for King, you know, I lived with my disability my whole life. King, it was something that happened later for him, you know, and so they would try to tell me, oh, you know, we'd sit in the writer's room and it'd be like, oh, well, you know, but King, it happened to him later. So, you know, maybe
Like
he's going to have
Thursday
to
or,
struggle.
like, how long ago? Like-
Yeah, last week, you know. And I told them, I was just like, you know, you have no idea how you would behave in any situation, you know, if you lose a limb. You know, you have no idea. You know, so King is this singer, dancer, DJ, like producer. You know, why would he be so down on himself? You know, why would he be so like unafraid to, you know, be himself? You know, so I wanted them to really focus on that, and they were really open, and it was really good discussions that happened.
Right. Perhaps guiding the drama by looking at the way other characters perceive you and
Exactly.
addressing that might be an interesting path to take.
Absolutely.
And I see Isaac is hovering.
Breathing down your neck. We are very short for time, which unfortunately I know these conversations can go on and on. I wanted to bring back our other two.
For a Q&A.
Just
Q&A.
just for a moment, because we only have really 5 minutes. But welcome back, John Murray and Maleni Chaitoo. We do have more seats and more.
Oh, we're getting more. It's just
But first of all, I
correct.
just want one more round of applause for these amazing talents, creators, and fascinating shows. Please check out all of their work and help support their work. Danny, maybe just one closing question from their experience as far as what the future is of TV and disability.
You heard it. Yeah, let's talk about, like, we always sort of touched on where you felt it could go in the future for you. But have you thought about after the show? Like, you might have a couple years run, perhaps 5, 10, whatever. We don't know. But what are your long-term goals?
I think the biggest thing is I want to play. I want to play more characters that are rude and disgusting and sexy and I'm just
Don't take the jobs away from me.
I'm just uninterested in being the guy to help people feel some kind of way. If I can do anything for my community, I think that's great, because there is a lack of representation. And I think that's beautiful when people can message me and send me messages on social media saying, like, I'm just seeing you was so beautiful. And so I'm like, that's great, that's interesting. But I'm not interested in spending a life of playing a character that's just meant to try to inspire people, that's just like, oh, you made me feel some kind of way. But I want people to come up to me and be like, you're an asshole,
All right, see me after the
Yes,
show.
totally.
Hopefully it's your character's an asshole, not you.
So some of us work that reputation either way. It's fine. Maleni,
I'm 100% down with Eric. I think everybody thinks, oh, that's sweet, innocent, lovely deaf people. I'm like, no. I want to see real, raw side of things. I want to see that we're human just like everyone else. So with my project, I would love to see it on network television or some kind of new media streaming service. We're really working on that. People keep asking me, oh my gosh, this show's so great. When are we going to see more of it? I love the story, not because there are deaf characters or sign language on screen. We like Jacob's character and his journey and these interesting things that this interpreter experiences. So we've got an audience for it. I would love to see it, advance in that way and get out there and see what a larger audience thinks and get to see that deaf people are normal and we're assholes and we're mean and we're all those other things you said. Yeah.
great. John, did you want to say something else? Maleni?
Oh, no, sorry. There was something in the audience.
Hold on, let me give you a microphone, please. But we do need to close this up, so
Okay.
this is the 1-minute warning. Sorry.
With so much content, being that there's 20% of the population that identifies as disabled and 35 million people who are deaf or hard of hearing, why can't we put together some sort of streaming network that that includes all sorts of programming that goes from one end, from comedy to drama to reality to documentary? Because it seems to make sense. There's so many niches out there now for people in the African American community, in the Jewish community, in the gay community, and it makes sense that there should be some sort of network or channel in the cable or streaming universe that encompasses all of this. It would make sense.
Well, I think you just answered
Absolutely.
John's portion of the question. Because, John, that's up to you now. That's your next step. You've done all the shows. Let's create a network. How do you like being on the spot?
Yeah, I'm probably not the guy to create a network, but I will say that I think we are seeing some positive signs throughout the industry towards better reflecting the audience that's out there. I hope it continues. It's never enough. I think your program is brilliant and funny, and I wish I could watch it on NBC. I'm not.
I would love that.
You know, so
Let me know how to make it happen.
as you know, nothing happens easily in television. It's like I say, Born This Way took almost 7 years from the first moment to getting on the air. So you got how many more years? No.
And
do we have
I'll just add that we have here 10
Hopefully it won't be
years of
7.
ReelAbilities films that are amazing. Many of you have seen these fantastic films that will travel to the ReelAbilities Film Festival. One of them each year might get some sort of release. But these films there's great content being produced and needs ways to get to the audiences beyond just a ReelAbilities Film Festival. So help support us, start a streaming site. How do you like that? We'll get our lawyers to
Right.
draft something up.
Let's say thanks to everybody that joined us today, and thank you guys for joining us as well.
Now,
Before we
big
go,
thank you to
I
Dan.
just wanted to say, everybody, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out online on YouTube. Don't shoot the messenger. Thanks.
Please be
Yes,
sure to
and
check.
step up
Subscribe
as
to
well.
Eric's channel too.
Yes, you get a whole month free of YouTube Red, so don't be shy.
And I'll say watch A&E as well. They've been wonderful partners in
Yes.
making this happen. I want to give a big thank you to Danny for putting this together. You only got a taste of his stand-up, which I think he'll be performing in full form tonight as we have a stand-up.
No, this was it. I did my whole act right.
Do the whole act.
Yes.
Well, don't come to that. Come to movies here instead. Thank you all so much. Thank you, folks. We have up here in this room right now, starting in exactly 10 minutes, the puppet show Adi and Uno. It's going to be a special performance. We are asking people to leave. An easy way to leave, since there's a crowd already forming outside, is actually through this back side over here. There's a back exit. Don't use it as an entrance. And join us for more films throughout the day and throughout the week. Thank you very much.